Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to what is today going to be a class review on the Dragonlord class, which has very recently received a buff to it. So this is quite an exciting one. If you don't know how you get it, you basically have to buy the Dragon Amulet in Dragon Fable, link your accounts, which I've shown you in a different video, and then go ahead into this shop here and get your hands on it. It's actually really powerful now and not a too bad farmer. However, this is a $20 class, which is quite a big downside, and there are many other alternatives out there that are considerably better. For this video, I'll be running lucky enhancements, and overall, this one gets an A-, and the farming side of it is an A. That could be a bit generous on the overall. I was half thinking it's just a high B tier, but you know what? It is very powerful when it comes to farming. Anyway, let us go along with this auto attack. So 3 targets. This one is physical damage. Applies stack of Draconic Patience for 20 seconds, increasing outgoing damage by 3% and stacks up to 10. Moving on to skill 2, infinite range and 3 targets. This one applies Draconic Rage for 8 seconds, increasing outgoing physical damage by 15%. It's important to note physical damage because half your attacks here are all hybrids, so that will not be happening. So only skill 1 and skill 5 will apply this physical damage. Skill 3 applies a heal to yourself and regains 45 mana. Applies Draconic Bulwark for 5 seconds, reducing incoming damage by 20%, but prevents you gaining Draconic Rage from your skill 2. Next up, we have got skill 4, and this one is going to cost you 20 mana, and again it's for 3 targets. Applies Draconic Flight for 12 seconds, increases haste by 30%. If Draconic Rage is applied, applies Draconic Wrath for 12 seconds, increasing outgoing physical damage by a further 15%. And then you've got your 5th skill, which is going to cost you 50 mana, and again 3 targets. Inflicts damage based on missing MP, and it applies Eternal Elemental Dissonance for 16 seconds, reducing their damage, crit chance, crit multiplier, hit chance, dodge and defense by 15% each. So let's talk about the rank 10 passive. Increases outgoing damage by 20%, hit chance by 40% and crit multiplier by 50 for 8 seconds. Increase to 60, 100%, 100% retrospectively for 3 seconds after that. Your rank 4 passive is Dragon's Keen Eye, increase hit chance by 15%, and the Dragon Amulet, which will increase physical damage by 15%. So having said all that, this class is actually quite nice and easy to use. I tend to go for skill 2 and then skill 4 and skill 5 and then hit 3 when I need some more mana and extra health. Farming, I have given Dragonlord a solid A. This one can't quite make the S tier. Its DPS isn't high enough to rival things like a 2-hitting Archfiend and the mighty Legion Revenant. We've also got a thing of classes like Blazebinder that are cheaper if you buy it the paid way, and indeed free if you go along and try and farm it properly. It does have some very nice animations attached to this, and as you can see here, we're being buffed by Legion Revenant for a little bit, just so you can see the sort of damage you could expect. We do get this really quite high at this point once we're getting buffed, and you will notice you can get your crits into the 8s, 9s and even 10k on your skill 5 when you're doing this correctly. Mana is not an issue when you're group farming. That is not a problem in the slightest. I was never really running out, so I didn't have to worry about hitting 3 and missing out on my Draconic Rage, so that is quite good. You'll notice we do get pretty much that 5,000 damage a second area, but it's important to remember the buff we are receiving in this instance. So what we're going to do is just move on to what it looks like when you're more so by yourself, and this is where mana does start to play in as a bit of an issue, because you've got to remember your skill 5 that you want to use pretty quick to get your buff is going to leave you slightly empty in the tank, as you can sometimes see on screen. You'll notice we're around the 2,100 a second, whereas when we're using Archfiend we are above the 3k, and that's just mindlessly spamming it. It goes without saying, as with any class that has a mana use issue, you can just simply go along and use mana vamp enhancements to get around that, but you have to bear in mind you'll only be regaining off of your auto attack. So soloing, I have given Dragonlord a rank B. The bottom line here is any class that struggles for mana is not a good soloer. That is not the kind of option you want to be using, especially in longer battles when you end up in a phase like this. Yes, I know it's got a strong heal, which does mean you can sustain, but ultimately the class feels sluggish even with the haste increase you're getting off of skill 4. Now you can take off a little bit of the DPS numbers we're getting here because they won't actually be that high, because we're using the Blinding Light of Destiny, which is quite a big damage boost on an undead, but you can kind of see where this is going. It would take some time to go through a whole solo battle, but against lower HP mobs, maybe that could be an option. Now PvP, which we have given it again a rank B. This is an interesting one. This class is not terrible for PvP. You get some reasonably strong defense buffs, you've got a nice strong heal, and of course you can regain mana for free off of skill free if you so choose to. This does mean battles can go on for a little bit longer, but again, the minute you come across anything that is going to dodge, do incredibly high DPS, you are going to be in trouble, because that heal is not going to do you too many favours against those sort of classes. And as you can see here, we get away with this battle, but that is because we weren't against the max level and it was a bit of a quirky class. And you can see the minute that changes up, it does start to struggle a little bit more. And just to put that totally in perspective, let's have a look at this. At one of the ultimate dodge classes against only a level 71 with barely any HP, you are not going to be landing a single one of these attacks, and if you do, it's going to be pretty low damage and you'll start to think this is really not going to be your day. However, we got away with this one, but I'm not taking too much of that battle because the HP difference was absolutely massive. Anyway guys, so overall Dragonlord is getting an A-. In farming, this is easily an A tier class, soloing B, PvP B, but those options you're not really going to be using this one for. The main thing we need to think about with this class is it is worth $20, and when you compare that things like we said earlier, Blazebinder, Vampire Lord, that's the same sort of tiering category. You do not want to be spending that sort of money unless you want some of the other cosmetics that come with the shop. I am not by any means saying this is a bad class, far from it. For me, it easily gets into that A tier bracket, and it does have some really high DPS, which can be like it is on steroids when you're using it in group farming. But you certainly won't be choosing it over any of your S tier options, and to be quite frank with you, unless you go out and actually buy this class, which I feel for $20 isn't really worth it, it will be finding its way, as it shall for me, into the bank. Anyway guys, thank you all very much for watching. We'll be back very soon for the Ultra Battle and more class reviews that will be on the way. Until then, have a lovely day, and I'll see you all again incredibly soon.